Hola mis amores, welcome back to another video. My name is Vanessa and welcome to my book space. Today's video is going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to bring this one to you guys. I am bringing to you a haul of books written by Black authors. Now, I think we all know that there's a problem, okay? The traditional publishing industry is very racist. Between 1950 to 2018, 95% of American fiction books were written by white authors. Black authors currently constitute only 5 to 7% of books being published. 5 to 7% of books being published are published by Black authors. Oftentimes, BIPOC authors are not given as much editorial development. Their advances are significantly less than those of their white counterparts. And this creates an issue because if they're not making money off of their books, off of their advances, it significantly decreases the amount of time that they can put into books, write more books, market their books, etc. and so forth. Reading diversely is very important to me. Reading books by BIPOC authors that highlight BIPOC characters, narratives, histories, and experiences is not optional. And here's the thing, reading diversely isn't easy. I think that when you get into reading, when you pick up books again, you immediately hop onto TikTok, hop onto YouTube, and you're adding all of these book recommendations to your TBR, and you don't even realize that the majority of the books being recommended to you are all written by white authors. So your intentions might be there, but because that's all that's being pushed, marketed, talked about, that's what you end up buying and reading. And there's nothing wrong with reading books written by white authors, obviously, but there is something to be said if you are exclusively filling up your bookshelves and exclusively reading books written by white authors. So I say that to say, because reading diversely is very important to me, any chance that I get to talk about, promote, or platform BIPOC authors is an opportunity and a chance that I'm going to take. Each and every single time I get that chance, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a sort of series on here called Diversify Your Reading. And the series is really going to center on highlighting, platforming, talking about the most marginalized voices within the publishing space. I want to make sure that I'm not only reading books by BIPOC authors, but I'm also platforming and showing you guys books by BIPOC authors. So yeah, I am starting a new series on here called Diversify Your Reading. If you're interested in reading diversely, if you're looking for more diverse reads to add to your bookshelf, then make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be doing these videos as often as I can. In terms of the genres that I have in this haul, I will be honest with you, I don't read fantasy, romantasy, or sci-fi. So if you're looking for any books under those genres, they're not going to be in this haul. But we got some literary fiction, we got some nonfiction, we got some historical fiction. So if you've ever wanted to get into those genres, those are the main types of books that I will be recommending today. The majority of books are from bookoutlet.ca. I will never stop putting them on, okay? I love bookoutlet.ca, okay? Some of them are from Amazon, and I know that we're supposed to be staying off of Amazon, so don't shoot me, but some of these books are from Amazon. I did thrift a couple of them. My hope is that you put some of these titles on your TBR, maybe add them to your book shopping list for the next time that you go shopping. Make sure that you save this video to your watch later so you can reference later on. In any case, let's get into the haul. This one is a haul of books only written by Black authors. The first books that I want to show you guys are by Jesymn Ward. Now, Jesymn Ward is a Black American author, and she writes a lot on the Black experience as someone who is from the South. The experience of Black Americans living in the South is such a unique one. It's very culturally rich. There's a lot of history in Southern Black America, and I am always interested in learning more about the Black American experience, specifically from the perspective of those that live in the South. With that being said, I have 2 books to show you by Jesymn Ward. The first one is Salvage the Bones. Now, this one sounds very, very interesting, but at the same time, emotionally damaging. In Salvage the Bones, we follow a Black family that is preparing and trying to survive Hurricane Katrina. We are mainly following the 5 siblings of the family, and this family has gone through so much intergenerational trauma. One of the siblings, one of the kids, is actually pregnant, and I believe that she's only like 13, 14, if not 15 years old. So this family has gone through a lot, okay? On top of that, they are trying to prepare and survive Hurricane Katrina. The family is based in the South, and they also have a litter of puppies, pit bull puppies, that are for some reason dying off one by one. And I think that that's where the book gets its name, Salvage the Bones, because the kids are also trying to save all of the puppies that are dying off one by one in the litter. The next book that I have by Jesymn Ward is The Men We Reaped. Now, this is a nonfiction. It is her memoir. And the premise of the book, or the premise of the memoir, is that Jesymn Ward has lost 5 Black men that are near and dear to her heart. and she argues that these Black men did not die due to regular life circumstances. Rather, they died because of the places that they're from and the identities that they hold, with them being Black Americans in the South. I cannot wait to get into Jesymn Ward. I've heard really, really good things about her. So if you want to get into Black American history, and more specifically Black American history from the South, definitely pick up Jesymn Ward. The next book that I want to show you guys is Their Eyes Were Watching God. It is written by Zora Neale Hurston, and I read the first chapter, which is basically a foreword by Edwidge Danticat, and the foreword gave me so much insight on what to expect with the book. It is considered a classic in Black literature. We are following Janie Crawford, who is a biracial woman living in the 1930s, and she has navigated through 3 different marriages, all of which have been very turbulent, very violent, very brutal. And so the book really is about our main character finding meaning in her racial identity, her gender identity, and trying to understand why she has gone through this amount of violence given who she is as a Black woman living in the 1930s. In the foreword, you learn that this book was written by Zora Neale Hurston in 7 weeks while she was in Haiti. She wrote this book in 7 weeks. I cannot wait to get into it. I did read the foreword and then I just put it down because I just wanted to read a couple of other things first, but I will definitely be picking it up. This is the book that I thrifted. I did pick it up for $3.99 at Value Village, and I was like, hey. I initially actually checked it out at the library, but when I saw it at my Value Village, I was like, you know what? I know I'm going to want my own copy. The next book that I want to show you guys is Erasure by Percival Everett. Now, Percival Everett writes a lot about the Black experience, Black history, Black identity, etc. and so forth. But he does so from a more satirical, almost dark humor-like angle. And if you appreciate that sort of tone, that sort of writing, especially when you're reading about very, very sensitive topics, then definitely look into Percival Everett. He has so many books that I want to get into. He has The Trees. There's also James as well, but Book Outlet at the time that I placed my order only had Erasure. So I was like, I want to get into his catalog, so let me pick this one up. So in Erasure, we are following our main character who is a writer, but he's a struggling writer. He's coming off a couple of commercial successes, but he hasn't really had a hit in a while. And so he's struggling. He's struggling to make ends meet. And on a whim, he does submit an unfinished manuscript. Now, the unfinished manuscript was supposed to be completely satirical. It wasn't supposed to be serious. The unfinished manuscript was about the state of Black life in America. But again, it was supposed to be satirical. It wasn't supposed to be taken seriously. The problem is the manuscript gets picked up and it becomes a commercial success. And so the book really is about our main character having to contend with the fallout of his unfinished manuscript becoming a commercial success and at the same time becoming the unifying voice on Black life in America. So I feel like it's definitely going to feed into stereotyping and generalizations and all of the microaggressions that you can think of that Black people face on an everyday basis. Okay, I think that this is one of those books that you're going to need a trigger warning for. This is Colson Whitehead's The Nickel Boys. Colson Whitehead actually has several books that I want to read of his. He is the author of The Underground Railroad. He also has the Harlem series as well that I want to pick up. The Nickel Boys sounds absolutely depressing. We are following Elwood Curtis, who is a Black boy growing up in 1960s Tallahassee, and he has been unfairly sentenced to a juvenile reform school. He thinks that he's going to a typical reform school, you know, to serve out his sentence, except this reform school is a chamber of horrors. And so you can just imagine. Okay, you can just imagine what we're going to get in here. All sorts of abuse, sexual or otherwise, all sorts of racism, torture, humiliation, beatings. The reform school is called the Nickel Academy, and it's actually based on a real story of a reform school that operated for 111 years. And it was a reform school that absolutely shattered the lives of all of the kids that attended. So it's based on a true story, and it sounds an awful lot like The Reformatory by Toni Morrison. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to be in the mood for this one because I just know that it's going to leave me emotionally damaged. And at the same time, it's going to make me so angry, like so angry. So yeah, another book that I'm so excited to show you guys, but is probably going to make me equally angry, okay, is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Tiffany D. Jackson writes a lot of YA novels. And to be honest with you, I don't read a lot of YA Okay. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to pick up Monday's Not Coming or any of her other books, although they all sound fantastic, but the premise absolutely pulled me in. Okay. So we have our two main characters, two young Black girls, and they are friends. And one Monday, one of the Black girls does not show up at school, and nobody cares. Nobody cares that this young Black girl has not shown up for school one Monday morning. The only person that cares is her best friend. The young Black girl goes missing for a whole entire year. And again, nobody cares. She's found a year later, but I mean, what happened to this young Black girl? Where did she go? Was she kidnapped? Was she trafficked? The back of the book doesn't indicate whether or not she's found alive or dead. Very interesting premise. And I think it's going to offer a lot of commentary on the idea of the perfect victim and this idea that when Black and brown people go missing, not as much media attention is given to them. There's not a lot of outrage. People don't care as much. So I definitely think it's going to tap into those themes. And a lot of people really, really like this one. So I am excited to get into this one. Okay, I feel like I have a banger. To show you guys. This is Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. Sadika Johnson writes a lot of historical fiction, and she has been compared oftentimes to Kristen Hanna. So I haven't read anything by Sadika Johnson just yet, but if you like Kristen Hanna and you're looking to get into more Black works like Kristen Hanna's, maybe look into Sadika Johnson. In any case, this is Yellow Wife, and I've heard really, really good things about this one. We follow our main character, who is an enslaved Black woman, and she was born into slavery, and she is trying her hardest to buy her freedom. She does, it seems, eventually buy her freedom, but after she is freed, she ends up in the most brutal jail for slaves. At this jail, the slaves are tortured, they are broken, they are sold into more and more slavery. Now, in order to protect herself, she ends up becoming the wife of the owner of the jail. And so I think that's where the book gets its name, Yellow Wife, because she ends up being the wife of the owner of this torturous, barbaric, violent jail. I am really excited to read this one, though. A lot of people rave about it, and I love me a good historical fiction, and I can't wait to get into more historical fiction by Black authors. I feel like I have another banger. I have Perfect Peace by Daniel Black, and again, another one that I've heard a lot of good things about. Now, this premise is unlike anything that I've heard of before, but we are following a Black mom who has had 6 kids, and all of them have been boys. Okay, all of them have been boys. All she wants is a daughter, and she happens to be pregnant for the 7th time. But guess what? It's a boy. Okay, she's having a boy. So the gender disappointment is real in this one, and she longs and craves, yearns for a daughter. Desperately, she decides to raise the baby, the 7th baby that she has, as a girl, even though it's a boy. And she decides to raise the baby as a girl, and she keeps the charade up for 8 years. After 8 years, she decides to come clean about the child's gender identity. And this book really is about a Black family having to question and challenge their understanding of gender identity, unconditional love, sexuality, and fulfillment, right? And so I'm really excited to read this one. Again, it's unlike anything that I've heard of before. Very, very unique premise. And another one that I feel like is going to leave me emotionally damaged, you know? I am really embarrassed to say that I just now added Assata to my collection. This is the autobiography of Assata Shakur, and she was a Black Panther activist, and she was really a principal figure in the Black liberation movement. This book is often referenced in conversations about Black liberation, Black freedom fighters, and of course, the Black Panther Party. In 1977, Assata Shakur was actually wrongfully convicted and incarcerated for being an accomplice to murder. And I believe she either wrote this memoir / autobiography when she was in jail or slightly after, when she was living in exile in Cuba. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like we're going to get a lot of Black feminism, of course, a lot of commentary on Black liberation movements and what it means to be a Black radical. And so I feel like if you are into Black feminism, if you are into feminism of any sort, if you want to learn more about liberation struggles and their movements, yeah, definitely pick this one up. I've said it before, but I am not a big romance reader, okay? And so I picked up 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and I had no idea idea that it was a romance. To be honest with you, I had no idea, you know what I'm saying? But I picked it up because it's one of those books that are always recommended in terms of where to start with Black literature. So I was like, okay, yeah, I have to have it on my bookshelf because I want to see what the hype is about. Now, here's the thing. If I am going to read a romance book, it has to be a second chance romance, okay? And this follows our main character, Eva Mercy, and she's a single mom, and she is also a best-selling erotica writer. Now, 15 years ago, she spent one torrid, sex-crazed, romance-filled week with Shane. And for one reason or the other, they just didn't work out. And see, that's the thing about second chance romances, okay? Because there's so much tension, there's so much intrigue. It's like, why didn't they work out? How do they come back together again? And will they finally end up together? There's just so much tension. I love it. In any case, 15 years later, they meet at this literary event for Black authors, and the sparks just fly, okay? And yeah, it's all about whether or not they will end up together. But I've heard that this book is very deep, it's very dark, and I'm excited to know how, you know, because yeah, like what in the hell happens in this one? That's all I know about this one. We get Shane and Eva, and yeah, I'm excited to read their love story. So yeah, this is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Okay, so I have a thriller here to show you guys. This is Dear Vicky by Octavia Grant. And here's the thing, thrillers are a genre that's dominated by white authors, and I really want to get into more thrillers by Black authors because I've heard that they're nothing short of amazing. Octavia Grant actually writes a lot of thriller novellas. And so if you like novellas, if you want to get into more thrillers by Black authors, you can definitely look into Octavia Grant. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I had no idea that she writes almost exclusively novellas. Okay, so I had no idea that this was like literally a baby book. Like, it's so snack sized, and I could probably finish this in 3 hours. Okay, I had no idea it was this small, but it's very, very small. And we are following our main character, who is a grocery bag boy. Okay, so he bags groceries. On one random day, this beautiful Black woman walks into the store, and they have this very unassuming, innocuous, platonic, casual conversation. Okay, like, hey, how was your day? My day was good. How about you? Type of thing. Except our main character, after that conversation with this beautiful Black woman, he convinces himself that he is in a full-blown committed relationship with this woman. Okay, he becomes obsessive, he becomes stalkerish, he turns into a psycho, and truly believes that he is in a committed relationship with this Black woman customer. I mean, I am really excited to get into this one. It's going to be a very quick read. So yeah, I have another baby book to show you guys. This is Passing by Nella Larson. This is a classic as well. And we are following our two main characters, who are both light-skinned Black women. And they are both light-skinned enough that they can pass off as white. Now, one of our main characters decides to live in her true racial identity, but the other one decides to pass off as a white woman. She happens to be married to a white husband as well. And one day, the white husband actually discovers her true racial identity. And I think that that's where the majority of the tension in the book is going to fall. I think that a lot of us don't have an understanding of what it means to pass off as white. It's not necessarily how you present. I mean, to an extent it is, but mostly, especially back then, this takes place in 1940s Harlem. Back then, passing was actually a means of survival. It was often done for protection. It's going to be very interesting to see how that looks like. I'm really excited to read this one, and it's a baby book, so I feel like I will get through it fairly quickly. But yeah, this is Nella Larson, Passing. Hi, I'm back. If you've noticed that I've changed locations, it's because I'm filming on the day after, on day 2, because my camera decided to stop cooperating with me, and I had like 4 books left that I really wanted to show you guys. So we're going to continue as if nothing happened, okay? And the next book that I wanted to show you guys yesterday but wasn't able to is Kin by Tayari Jones. It is currently like making its rounds across a book talk, specifically Black Book Talk. A lot of people whose recommendations I really, really trust are raving about this book, and Tayari Jones just sounds like a fantastic author, very heartfelt, very warm, very literary author. So I can't wait to get into her books. And I believe that we are following 2 daughters, or 2 close friends. Both of them have lost their mother, and I believe that they are being raised side by side, and then their lives take completely different directions, and then they're pulled back together because of one event that sort of like brings them back together. Tayari Jones is also the best-selling author of An American Marriage, and that is a book that I've been eyeing for quite some time. So the next book that I picked up by a Black author is The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates is actually a former journalist, and he's sort of having this reckoning with like the West. And so he takes a trip, if you will, of self-discovery, and he ends up visiting Palestine. He ends up taking a trip to Senegal, and then he takes readers along with him to Columbia, South Carolina. And I feel feel like this one is all about deconstructing and shattering the myth of all of these nation states. So their origin story, how they came to be, and how they had to erase the history of the marginalized populations on the very same lands that they, built their nations and their countries on. So I feel like this is going to be an excellent book, and it's right up my alley. And of course, last but not least, I feel like you cannot have a haul of books written by Black authors without having the Toni Morrison in the mix. Like, how can I not? Toni Morrison is absolutely mother, and I don't feel like she misses. Like, I don't think she has any misses, because spoiler alert, I have read both of these books. This is Beloved. Some people say Beloved. I say Beloved, by Toni Morrison. And this book is all about the intergenerational impacts of slavery, the aftermath of slavery, the after effects of slavery, as well as the sacrifice and unconditional love of a mother. We are following Assata, who refuses to have her newest baby born into slavery. And so she makes a life impacting decision to ensure that her baby isn't, born or captured into slavery. It is one of her more challenging reads for sure. I know that there are very skilled readers, historian, professors who struggle with this text. It was my first Toni Morrison book, and I have no idea why I undertook such a challenge. And I don't feel like at the time that I read it, I really gave it the close reading, the patience that this book requires. So I feel like I'm definitely going to read it again, and I will definitely be annotating it as well. And then my favorite Toni Morrison book thus far is The Bluest Eye. I love this book, and I strongly recommend adding this to your TBR. I feel like this is required reading. We are following along three little Black girls, and there's one girl in particular, Pecola, who believes that she would be more beautiful if she could just have blue eyes. Pecola is often othered due to her perceived ugliness. And even when something very, very tragic and horrific happens to her, society doesn't even notice, doesn't care, because of her perceived ugliness. It is such a powerful, gripping, harrowing, haunting account of race and class and desirability politics and poverty. It's just fantastic. It's so well done. Even the children are fully formed characters. They're written so beautifully. They have their own internal contradictions, their inner thoughts, their inner feelings. It just feels so wholesome. And like I said, Toni Morrison can't miss. So definitely add this one to your TBR. Finally, I am done this video. It's taken 2 whole days to get it right, I feel. I hope that this gave you inspiration of books to add to your TBR from and by Black authors. If you stayed the course and you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Adios.